everybody, this is Sana and I'm back today to show you guys how to make my crepe recipe. This is a very easy recipe that I make all the time. I usually use it on the weekends to make my kids like Nutella crepes for breakfast. But this recipe can be used for savory crepes and for sweet crepes. And I've got my handy tools here. I actually bought a crepe making machine on Amazon, and it's changed my game when it comes to crepes. It makes them crispy, it just cooks them at the right temperature. It's amazing. And it was only $34. But you don't have to have this. For years I've been making crepe using just a regular non-stick pan. So you totally can. I'm just saying, if you want to up your game, this is a good machine to do it. I also love using my mixer for crepes, because when it comes to crepe batter, you don't want to add air. You don't want to incorporate a lot of air, but you do want it really well mixed. So a mixer is great. If you have any kind of mixer, even like a food mixer, anything, or a juicer, anything like that, I would say use it. If you don't at all, then I would say whisk the batter. No worries, but strain the batter at the end and then refrigerate it for like an hour or half an hour before you use it. I'm going to do it my way, but I gave you the tips and tricks if you want to do it without any of the tools or extra help, okay? The recipe includes 4 whole eggs, 2 cups of whole milk, and you can use 2%, you can use 1%, whatever you want, 2 cups of all-purpose flour, just regular AP flour, and a tablespoon of sugar. And the sugar is going to add that it's going to allow it to caramelize and get that, nice brown golden color as it cooks. Okay, so this is a super, super easy recipe. Really, all it is, you just dump all the ingredients into the mixer and mix it. That's it. So 4 eggs go in. And the 2 cups of milk. And this yields a whole lot of crepes, by the way. I don't remember counting, but I think I've made like 20 crepes easy with this. Let's go back to the flour. I'm making sure that I level my cups of flour because I don't want to mess around with, how many of these ingredients I'm putting in there. Here's the 2nd cup. And you just dump it all in there. There's really no finesse or classiness here. You're just putting everything in. And the tablespoon of sugar. That's it. Now I'm going to close this, put it back on my machine. I'm going to pulse it first a couple of times just to make sure everything's incorporating, and then I'll put it on a medium speed and whiz it through. I'm going to make sure that it's completely incorporated, and I would suggest somewhere in the middle, take a spatula, a soft spatula, and scrape through the sides to make sure that all of your flour isn't sticking to the sides. All right, let's go. I pulsed it a couple of times. Now I'm just going to go on medium. This is where I pause it. I'm going to get my spatula and just go through the sides and make sure that everything's mixing. Use a rubber spatula, you guys. It's going to get through all of those nooks and crannies and corners. There you go. I actually don't have that much that got stuck, but still. Alrighty. That's good. I'll give it one last mix. There. And we'll be done. All right, batter is ready. Now, if you really have the time and you want to impress, even though we use this machine that makes it easier, I would still suggest you strain it and refrigerate it for half an hour. It's just gonna taste better and it's gonna look better. So I actually prepared my strainer. I'm not going to refrigerate it because I'm just going to show you how we're making it. So I'm going to strain my batter. I have the strainer and a big bowl. There you go. It'll just give you a smoother crepe. Alrighty, I've got my batter all ready. Now my machine, the one that I bought from Amazon, came with these handy tools. This is used to really scrape the batter across the machine just to make sure that it's all flat and level. And this one is so that you don't use like a metal spoon, so you don't scrape the machine. So it's like a wooden spatula, I would say. So I already turned on my machine and it has been heating up for the past 10-15 minutes. It doesn't need that long, but it is on. You don't need to put any butter or oil or spray it with anything before putting the batter. You just go ahead with your batter. So I'm going to use a ladle to measure my crepe batter, and I do believe that 1 ladle is enough to make 1 full crepe. Let's test that out. Here's the crepe batter, and as you can see, it still has some bubbles, and that's because I didn't let it rest. If you do let it rest in the fridge for some time, this will calm down and you won't have as many bubbles. Either way, it'll still taste really good. Most of the time, I don't refrigerate it or let it rest just because my kids are screaming at me, "Mommy, give me crepe now." But if you had people coming over or you're preparing brunch or something like that, you do want to rest it for a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead with 1 ladle, and as soon as I put it in there, I am going to use this tool that came with my machine to scrape it sideways and make sure I get a beautiful thin circle. Now I can tell here that 1 spoon might have been too much, so we can maybe use like 3/4 of that ladle. And I know this looks tricky, and I'm still practicing to make like these perfect circles. It's not a big deal. It's all gonna end up in your belly anyway. I do like my crepes like a little bit thicker. I don't like them super, super, super thin. So this is fine. I don't like get too specific in this step. But you can, if you want really thin and crispy crepes, you definitely can. So we'll wait like, I would say 30 seconds to a minute to make sure that we have a nice color. What I would do is just lift it up in 30 seconds and see if there's that nice golden brown at the bottom. If I've achieved that, then I'll go ahead and flip it. As you can see, we flipped it with ease. It didn't stick because this machine is really non-stick, and we didn't even use any butter or oil or spray in the beginning, and it still didn't matter. And take a look at this color, you guys. You could have left it a little longer if you wanted it to be crispier. I like my crepe a little soft, but leave it on for another 30 seconds. You'll get a darker color and it'll be super crispy, especially around the edges. While our crepe is being made, I am making a very simple caramelized apple. Just as a side, I love to put it on my crepe and then do a very quick like whipped cream, and it just tastes so good. You don't have to only use Nutella in your crepe or chocolate. There are so many ways you can enjoy your crepes, and this is one of them. So I'm just gonna do a rough chop on my apples. I'm keeping the skin on because I like it. You can definitely take the skin off. And again, I'm just going to cut little squares. This is all going to cook down into like a caramelized apple sauce type of thing. So you don't need to be fussy about how you're cutting your apples here. I'm getting a small saucepan that I can use. This one is good enough. I'll add all of my apples. Then I'll add a tablespoon of sugar. I'm not adding too much sugar because I'm using red apples, as you can see. If I were using green apples, I might add a little bit more because green apples are sour. I will add a knob of butter, and a knob of butter is usually around a tablespoon. And I'm just going to turn this on to a medium-high heat and let this bubble away by itself. Meanwhile, we can get some of our crepes onto a plate and get moving with more. Take a look at this crepe, you guys. Hear the crunch. This is a crispy. Do you hear that? Now, if you wanted it soft, the way that I like it, we'll leave it on for a little bit less time and we can use more batter. But this is usually how people like it. A nice, thin and crispy crepe. This is just starting to bubble, so I'm going to use a little bit of cinnamon, and you can use anything you want. You can put some vanilla if you want. I love cinnamon with apples, especially during like a nice cold night outside. It just feels so warm and delicious. So I'm not really measuring. I'm just putting, I think that's around half a teaspoon. You can put more or less. And oh my God. Just as it hits that heat and the butter and the apples, you can start smelling that warmth and deliciousness. Now, you can leave this at this stage on a medium-high heat, and what's going to happen is these apples are going to start cooking down and getting softer and caramelizing. So we're going to let this go for maybe around 5 or 10 minutes while we focus on our crepes again. Take a look. They're starting to get nice and soft. And as you can see, that caramel is taking shape and they smell so good. I'm going to reduce the heat just a little bit. I don't want them burning or sticking to the bottom of the pan. Our apples are ready. They look nice and soft, still with a little bit of crunch in them. I just love that texture. They're nice and saucy and they smell delicious. As you see, we have several crepes ready here. I'm going to take one. I'm making myself a crepe right now. I'm spreading this apple mix all over. Oh my God, this looks so delicious. I will close it on one side, add a little more here, and then close it on the other side. This way I have layers and layers of apples. Here is my spiced apple or caramelized spiced apple crepe. You can make it many, many ways. I'm going to show you my Nutella one next. We can use this one, it's nice and crispy. And this one is gonna go to my son who's waiting right there and he's like eyeing me. I'll get the Nutella. Here's my trusty Nutella. And I'll take around, I would say, a tablespoon and spread it all over the middle in like a nice thin line. And then I roll it up. That's the way my kids like to eat it. I just create a little roly-poly sandwich. And they just grab it and eat it. Super simple. No need to be fancy at home. You can be, but there's no need to. Thank you guys for watching. This was such a pleasure to share with you my crepe recipe. I made it two ways today. I used a spiced caramel apple filling that was super easy to make. And I made just a basic Nutella and some strawberries on top. Both ways are delicious. This crepe recipe you can use for savory food, for sweet crepes. You can do it in so many different ways. Please make something with it and share it with me on Instagram, here on YouTube, in a comment, anywhere you can find me. I love to see the way you guys make my recipes. Thank you so much for watching. See you next video.